but they are nation builders, catalysts for integrity, and stewards for public trust. A research recently conducted by the International Federation of Accountants affirms that accountants are increasingly leading the global transformation agenda, which includes responsible financial leadership. The report notes that 70% of CFOs now view the professional accountants as key enablers for both digital innovation and sustainability strategy. Distinguished guests, this transformation reflects not just a change in roles, but a fundamental shift in mindset, from transaction to impact. This seminar edition comes at a crucial moment for both Kenya and the global economy. According to the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, our economy grew by 5.3% in 2024, and it is estimated to grow in the same trajectory in 2025. This is a commendable resilience of our economy, despite the global challenges and the fiscal tightening that we have witnessed. On the international stage, the International Monetary Fund in 2025 observed that the public and private debt continues to swell beyond the $315 trillion, raising new questions about the fiscal sustainability and the need for multilateral cooperation. Closer home, issues around public debt continues to dominate both private and public conversations, and I know we'll have a big session just to talk about the public debt. So as we gear up for a week full of learning and inspiration, I want to propose some possible ways in which we as accountants can transform from transaction to transformation, thereby making the impact we need to make to the world. One is embracing digitization and artificial intelligence to automate our routine transactions, leaving us the much needed time to focus on transformation agenda. Two is enhancing the attractiveness of our profession. Three, integrating sustainable work in every sphere of our influence. And fourthly is ingraining ethics and ethical practices at the core of every aspect of our work. At Icpak, we have continued to promote this agenda through strong advocacy and stakeholder engagements. Our recent review of public audits for ministries, departments, and agencies from the year 2020 to 2023 highlights the importance of accountability, transparency, and sustainable fiscal management. Working closely with the Office of the Auditor General, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, and the National Treasury, among other stakeholders, we have amplified the voice of accountants in public sector reforms and debt accountability. Ladies and gentlemen, transformation is not only happening around us, it is also happening within the profession. Through our digital CPD ecosystem, we now reach numerous professionals annually, enabling continuous learning and knowledge exchange across borders. The participation of our colleagues from across the globe, our global chapters, including the UK, the America, and the South Africa, both as delegates and as speakers, further demonstrate the interconnectedness of our profession. Distinguished guests, Africa's accounting ecosystem has also transformed across the continent. The professional accountancy organizations are strengthening governance framework, supporting sustainability adoption, and embedding ethics into financial systems. Icpak is proud to be part of the regional conversations under PAFA, the Pan-African Federation of Accountants, under the UNCTAD International Standards of Accounting and Reporting, ISAS, in advancing standards that align Africa with global best practices, while remaining sensitive to local realities. Kenya continues to be a regional model in the adoption of the IPSAS, the IFRSs, the ISAs, and the championing public financial integrity. Ladies and gentlemen, as I come to the end, I want to urge each one of us to reflect on how we can individually and collectively drive the transformation agenda within our workplaces, institutions, and national systems. Let us move beyond compliance and embrace leadership that is anchored on ethics, innovation, and impact. I reflect, in the words of Brené Brown, that integrity is choosing courage over comfort, choosing what is right over what is easy. That is the essence of transformation and the spirit of this seminar. Finally, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to our sponsors and partners who have continued to support us and work with us throughout this journey. Allow me to mention them by name and call them. We start with our very own KCA University, CASNEB and CASNEB Foundation, the Risk Management Hub in Africa, IRM Africa, Family Bank Limited, Mivida Homes, Odo KE Limited, the Central Bank of Kenya, Grey Oak Limited, United States International University, USIU Africa, AAR Insurance, Muhasibu Sacco, Zitech University, Africa Rate Limited, Nuclear Power and Energy Agency, NUPEA, Sassini, Jubilee Insurance, Dejavu Technology Solutions. From the Gulf, we also have 3 sponsors. We have the RSM East Africa, Affordable Housing Board, and CPF Finance. Our delegates, thank you for choosing to engage, learn, and lead through Icpak. Together, we are shaping a profession that is not only count numbers, but also ensures that every number counts. Thank you so much, and I welcome you to the 42nd Annual Seminar, 2nd edition. It is now my singular duty and privilege to welcome our chairman, CPA Professor Elizabeth Kalunda, to deliver her opening remarks and also to be able to run the program from here. Thank you so much. Let's give Professor a big round of applause. This happens to be her first annual seminar as the chairman of the Institute. We are so glad, Prof, and Karibu. Thank you.
She is the Chief Executive Officer of She is the chairman of Icpak, an accomplished accounting and finance professional who has served in academia, public service, and corporate leadership, including senior roles at USIU Africa, Dedan Kimathi University, TSC, and the Government Training Institute. A respected scholar, board director, and governance expert, she has championed research, devolution, standards development, and institutional strengthening across Kenya's accounting profession. Please welcome CPA Professor Elizabeth Kalunda.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mwakazi, for the introduction. Thank you, CEO, for the introduction. If that was last year, the vice title would be okay, but we've moved on. Thank you. And again, this being my first speech or my first ceremony to officiate as the chairman, I think it's allowed, CEO, so no apologies. Yeah, so it is indeed a great pleasure for me to be here. Just looking at the members who are here, remembering when we were last here during the first edition, the chairman who was standing here was CPA Kakai. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to serve as your chairman. Now, just before I make my speech, I want to invite FCPA Farin, who is the host chair. I know this is an event that we always hold in Mombasa, and it is good to recognize the chair of this place. So I'll request you to just make a very short welcoming remark. Tell us more about Mombasa. I know we have guests who are not from here. We know we have people from Nairobi who don't know the coast very well. So let me just give you a few minutes so that you can, as the host, so that we don't come to your space without you welcoming us.
Thank you very much, Professor Kalunda, who has also been my vice chair and a great mentor and an inspiration. My name is FCPA Farhin Kandwala. I'm the Icpak Coast Branch chairperson. Hapa ni kwetu. So, karibuni Mombasa. Let me greet you in our native Islamic greeting. That is, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That means, may the peace and blessings of the Almighty be upon you. As instructed by my able chair, I'm going to be very brief, just to karibisha too. So, on behalf of the Icpak Coast Branch, it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the 42nd Annual Seminar Edition 2. 42 years, guys, give us a round of applause. We can be called a heritage site, but unlike Fort Jesus, we are not crumbling yet, thank God. This year's theme, From Transactions to Transformation, Accountancy Impacting the World, reminds us that we have come a long way from the days where we used to use the heaviest calculators. For those who know. Today, accountants are not just record keepers, we are strategic partners, data interpreters, and on some days, unofficial therapists to very strict KRA audits. Here at Coast, we take this transformation very seriously, by the way. Although 60% of the stress can be washed away by the calm ocean breeze, the 40% needs the CPD. So take this very seriously. As we begin this seminar, I invite you to be curious, to be bold, to engage, and yes, be ready to laugh a little. Come on, who said accountants have to be boring? Transformation doesn't always have to be painful. Sometimes it just requires perspective and a strong Wi-Fi. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up for the profession. And thank you for continuing to prove that accountants do impact the world. As accountants, we no longer just close books. We open a world of opportunities. Karibuni sana. It's extremely hot in Mombasa right now. So I urge you to be very careful. Around noontime, do avoid the hot sun out there. And if you really need to go out, make sure you are putting your sunscreen, your protection, and stay hydrated, please. Keep drinking that water. Thank you very much. Karibuni sana. Thank you.
So you've heard it from the host's mouth. You've been warned about the weather. You've been told how to distribute the CPD hours. We know the ocean is quite tempting, but let us also learn. So thank you so much, FCPA Farin, for that short brief, and thank you for always welcoming us when we are here. Before I make my remarks, I really want to truly thank all of us who are here. Thank you for patronizing this event. This is one of our premier events, this being the 42nd annual seminar. And this is an event where, as CPAs, we come, we meet people who we have been in school together many years ago. In fact, today I was surprised that when I was talking to Honorable Mwadegu, he introduced me to his classmate. So you can imagine how many years back that was. So this is really an event. Just besides being an event, it is a networking event. So I'll go now to my official remarks. Our chief guest, Dr. David Oginde, Chairman of EACC. Our keynote speakers, FCPA Nancy Gadogo, who is the Auditor General of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Veronica M. Nduva, Secretary General of the East African Community, our very own CPA Ephantas Kemodo, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Irrigation, members of Parliament, former members of parliament and key government officials present, CPA Marjan Hussein Marjan, who is the CEO of IEBC, board chairman and members, CEOs, heads of parastatals and industry leaders, to my vice chairman, FCPA Bernard Amuka, to my council colleagues who are here, to our CEO, Dr. Grace Kamau, CPA, who is our secretary to council, past chairmen who are also here, and the CEO was able to mention them from the 20-something. I'm the 26th chairman. Thank you for being here with us. Branch leaders who are here. We have 9 branches, and we have the leaders well represented in this event. To all the FCPAs and CPAs who are in this event, in the 3 venues here in Sarova, Pride in 1, Pride in 2, and those who are there virtually. To our esteemed speakers and distinguished guests, members of the 4th Estate, thank you for always being there and covering our events. To the Icpak Secretariat, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Yeah, so before I start my speech, I would just want to request my council colleagues to stand in whichever venue they are. Those who are here, please stand so that you can know who you elected, you can know who you hold accountable. So we have our council colleagues who are here. I'm hoping those in the other venues are also able to stand. And we've distributed ourselves. So, dear participants, these are the leaders. We have those who have been appointed, those who have been elected. So we have FCPA, Professor Leting. He's the CEO of CASNEB. He's a member of the Institute. So when you see him, remember how we became CPAs. Huh? Yeah, for most of us, it was during Getao's time. For the young ones, it is FCPA. Prof. Leting, thank you for the good job you are doing for us at CASNEB. We have CPA Crispus Mbogo. This is the newest member of council. Please, makofi kwake. Thank you for having confidence in him. Thank you for allowing him 3 years to be our leader. We also have CPA Cliff or Wycliffe. I always confuse their two names. Wycliffe Bishanga. He's in his 2nd year as council. And we have our secretary, CEO. She has been here for a while. The other council members, if I could see the screen. Good. Yeah, so I can see the room where we have FCPA Georgina Malombe. You can raise up your hand. I can see CPA Wala, who is from the National Treasury. I can see my vice chairman, FCPA Bernard Amuka. He was also elected in the just ended elections, makofi kwake. I can see the other room in Pridin. We have CPA Olive Mbogo. She's serving in her 3rd year as a council member, her 1st term. We have, I can see FCPA Hesbon. Is that his? Yes, good. Yes, and finally, we can see CPA Mukisu, who is a representative from the Capital Market Authority. So, dear delegates, these are the members who represent you at council, both as elected members and also as appointed members. So, hold us accountable for what Icpak is supposed to do. So, thank you. You may have your seats. Makofi kwao. So I'm really privileged to welcome you to the 42nd Annual Seminar, Edition 2, under the powerful theme, From Transactions to Transformation, Accountancy Impacting the World. A very powerful theme. Today we gather at a pivotal moment for our profession, one that asks us to look beyond ledgers and reports and stand squarely in the midst of national and continental transformation. Allow me to begin by sincerely thanking our chief guests, where we have Dr. David Oginde. We have our keynote speaker, CPA Ephantus Kemodo. And I want to just note that when we look at our chief guest, this is Dr. David Oginde, who is the chairman of Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. This is a very respected voice in matters governance, ethics, and integrity. His presence here is both timely and symbolic, reminding us as accountants that genuine transformation starts with values and ethical leadership. I also want to acknowledge our keynote speakers who will be coming in later at the various times in our program. And I want to say that these leaders, all who are our speakers, will share insights which will enrich our reflections on public accountability and regional cooperation. We are equally honored by the participation of delegates from regional and international professional bodies, public institutions, and the private sector who are joining us here in Mombasa and virtually from across the world. And not across the world. This time we have the diaspora team who will be joining us and sharing some insights with us. I also want to recognize the Icpak Council who stood here before you, the Secretariat who are led by the CEO. They work very hard to make this event and many other events happen. I also want to recognize our diaspora community. We have chapters at the Institute. We have the UK, we have the America, we have the South African diaspora team or chapters who will be here. And I also want to recognize every member who has made it possible to convene both physically and virtually. Fellow accountants, since we last gathered at the 42nd Annual Seminar Edition 1, we have lost towering figures whose footprints are deeply engraved in the soul of this republic and in the space of governance, accountability, and public leadership. These leaders are like the late Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. We also lost the Deputy Auditor General, CPA Frederick Oluoch Odhiambo, and many members who we lost. So members, I will request you in honor of the legends, the leaders, and the heroes that we've lost. Let's stand for 1 minute in honor of what they did. Thank you, and you may be seated. Fellow professionals, the theme of this seminar is not just rhetorical, but it serves as a guiding principle. The transformation we discuss requires accountants to move beyond merely recording transactions, although skillful and vital, to become architects of institutional trust, supporters of sustainable development, defenders of the public interest, and drivers of inclusive growth. Fellow accountants, this annual seminar is not just another event in our CPD calendar. It is the flagship gathering of the professions in Kenya and across the region. It stands as the Institute's largest and most influential forum for thought leadership, policy dialogue, and technical advancement. Here, we take stock of our journey as a profession, engage on emerging standards, share global best practices, and shape the agenda for financial governance and sustainability. The diversity of delegates from practitioners, auditors, CFOs, and regulators to regional participants from East, Central, and Southern Africa reflects how this forum has become a continental platform for exchange and innovation. Each edition moves us closer to a profession that is agile, ethical, and future-ready, driving the transformation of economies and fostering the trust of societies. Ladies and gentlemen, this second edition of our annual seminar takes place amidst significant economic challenges and issues of accountability. According to the latest Auditor General's report, nearly 1.7 trillion of Kenyan shillings of public expenditure across national and county entities remains unaccounted for. That means lost in unsupported documentation, pending bills, and irregular procurement processes. It is therefore a very important meeting of minds to discuss better ways to continue being transformative and impactful. Icpak Public Audit Review Report, which we released, revealed that 35% of counties received qualified or adverse audit opinion, highlighting the ongoing governance and leadership inefficiencies despite ongoing transformation. Meanwhile, our nation's public debt now exceeds 70% of our GDP, straining fiscal space and testing our resilience in the face of inflation, unemployment, and revenue pressures. These realities remind us that transformation cannot and should not remain a slogan. It must be a leadership and ethical imperative, lived daily through systems, decisions, and professional conduct. That is why our theme, From Transaction to Transformation, Accountancy Impacting the World, is relevant and urgent. Let's note, ladies and gentlemen, that transformation starts with trust. Our profession's license to operate depends on the public confidence that figures are honest, governance is strong, and the truth in financial statements is believable. When accountants uphold integrity, economies attract investments, public services are enhanced, and citizens' lives are improved. Let me be concrete about how Icpak has moved the needle towards that transformation. We launched Icpak's strategic plan and sustainability roadmap, placing sustainability, environmental, social, and governance considerations at the center of professional practice. Next, we supported and published the Public Audit Review Report for county governments and assemblies. That work has yielded actionable recommendations that strengthens accountability at the devolved level. And this is where public resources directly impact citizens. We deepened our collaboration with the Office of the Auditor General through reviews of the Auditor General reports for ministries, departments, and agencies, ensuring that audit findings translate into remedial action and improved fiscal discipline. We further amplified the profession's voice through submission of multiple bills and regulations, ensuring that technical competence and public interest informed reforms in tax policy, public procurement, and financial reporting. Again, we convened a national research conference and hosted the OAG and Icpak Town Hall. All these were meant to create forums where evidence, policy, and accountability converge. In this space, practitioners, academicians, and policy makers interrogate data and design solutions. Further, Icpak hosted IFA Connect 2025, and this was a great achievement for Kenya and Africa as a region and member of IFAC, and this is a milestone that placed Kenya on the global stage and enabled knowledge exchange with international regulators, standard setters, and thought leaders. And in fact, for the IFAC Connect being the first in Africa, the IFAC leadership was very happy for Kenya, and we lead and we guide and we also give advice for other countries that want to have the IFAC Connect. We also launched the UDIN platform for the practitioners. This is something that you've heard. This is a pivotal step in strengthening audit quality and the authenticity of audit documentation. UDIN, or the Unique Document Identification Number, is a practical instrument in the fight against fraud and misrepresentation. We also engaged our diaspora through Icpak UK and America chapter meetups, drawing on the global expertise of Kenya accountants abroad and strengthening networks that bring skills and investments back home. We elevated dialogue with the head of public service and chief of staff through a courtesy call, during which we agreed on practical partnerships, enhancing the zero-fault audit regime, maintaining good standing by public sector accountants, capacity building and professionalization of the public finance function, and aligning appointments to public entity boards with the Mwongozo Code. Most recently, we came here for this edition of the annual seminar. We also held a significant engagement that was, I think, a few days last week on either Friday or Thursday, which was led by our very own parliamentarian, CPA Francis Kuria Kemani, alongside with Icpak Council delegation. During this very important meeting with the parliamentarians, we discussed strengthening public finance management law. We know that a lot that needs to be done by us as accountants is hinged on the law, and we need some amendments on the law. So that was part of the discussion. We also discussed about improving parliamentary scrutiny on audit reports, reviewing pay-as-you-earn bans to protect citizens' livelihoods, and auditing the cost of implementing the 2010 Constitution. These are not isolated initiatives. Together, they demonstrate an integrated approach that combines technical standards and ethics, collaboration with state institutions, knowledge exchange both domestically and internationally, and direct community impact. Delegates, in addition to these efforts, as your chair, and during the first annual seminar since taking office, I reaffirm my strong commitment to you, our members. Guided by our strategic plan 2025-2029 and my manifesto, Icpak will speed up member-focused initiatives to ensure that each of you receives tangible benefits from the Institute. We will improve digital platforms for better efficiency, expand our member benefit program, and strengthen mentorship pathways for the young professionals and women in leadership. Our capacity building initiatives will explore new areas, including AI, data analytics, sustainability reporting, and mastery of IPSAs and IFRSs to keep Kenyan accountants competitive worldwide. We will also advocate for the welfare and visibility of our members by supporting fair pay, professional dignity, and safe working environments across all sectors. We will boldly and strategically amplify the voice of Icpak. But ladies and gentlemen, to sustain this impact, we must nurture three essential capabilities in the modern accountant. One is technical mastery, and that is why expertise in IFRSs, IPSAs, tax, audit, and risk remains fundamental. Our standards and UDIN are part of this foundation. Secondly, digital fluency, and this is on data analytics, AI, cloud accounting, and cyber security proficiency. We know that technology enhances influence and introduces new risks only professionals with analytical skills can manage. Thirdly, ethical leadership. And I think this will remain a standing theme for our profession. We need to have the moral courage to confront wrongdoing, defend public interest, and resist influence from special interest. Our partnership with the EACC, along with our workshops on whistleblowing, demonstrates this commitment. We also need to broaden our role as stewards of sustainability, and that's the global theme nowadays. investors and citizens now insist on disclosure of climate risk, social impact, and governance practices. So I call upon each one of you as a member of the profession and friends to the profession to recommit to this higher purpose. Let us be catalysts of transformation, not mere custodians of compliance. In closing, let me return to the phrase of our theme, accountancy impacting the world. Impact is not measured by counting transactions, but by the difference those transactions make to human life. When public resources are used to build schools and clinics, climate finances reach resilient agriculture. Accountants have been pivotal in a recovered procurement process that delivers timely medicines and essentials. Before I conclude, I wish to extend my heartfelt appreciation to our event sponsors and partners. The CEO was able to mention them one by one. Thank you very much for being our sponsors, believing in us, and partnering with us. Your steadfast support, innovation, and commitment to advancing our profession have made this event possible. Thank you for believing in Icpak's mission and for joining us on this journey. To our delegates, both physically and virtually, I warmly invite you to participate actively throughout this seminar. Visit the sponsors' exhibitions to discover innovative solutions, services, and products that can enhance your professional practice and organizational impact. I also take this opportunity to invite you to the Icpak Charity Golf Tournament on Thursday. This tournament is more than a social event, it is an act of collective purpose. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I've come to the end of my speech, and I'm taking this distinct honor to invite our keynote speaker, who is our very own CPA, the PS, the State Department for Irrigation, CPA Fantas Kemodo, to give us his speech, which is tailored or themed around public-private partnerships for economic transformation. So let's, delegates, please let's stand. Even those who are virtual, you can clap or stand in whichever way. Let's give him a hand of applause. So welcome so much, our chief.
Our chief guest, Dr. David Oginde, Chairman of ACC, our Chair of Icpak, CPA Professor Elizabeth, our CEO, CEO of Icpak, CPA Dr. Grace, our council members, distinguished guests, good morning. I'm happy to be here and quite honored to be here engaging my fellow CPAs. As the CEO was earlier mentioning, what makes you, what was the question? What makes you, what reminds you, what makes you proud? Yeah, what makes you proud to be a CPA? Just something came across my thought that I know the last time I was practicing was 2012. But I've remained a loyal member of CPA, of Icpak, an active member of Icpak even 13 years down the line. But I must say that this profession has all the way, for example, the last 10 years before I joined government, I was in the real estate industry, totally different, whereby you're entirely dealing with engineers, QSs, but still along the way, there's something about our profession that you find you always have a space somewhere. It really helped me a lot in structuring most of the financial transactions, especially joint venture arrangements. which are key, and without that financial knowledge, that financial knowledge really came in handy. Later, when I joined government, I was first appointed as PS Forestry. Again, forestry and accounting, you might think there is no connection, but I found a space there because when I was there, I led the issue of commercial forestry, which really, again, speaks a lot to our profession. And now I'm in irrigation. Irrigation and unyunyuzi ya maji. Again, it's an area that you would not expect something to do with this profession. But again, this profession has come in handy because we are using, the topic today is actually relevant to what some of the things that we actually do, whereby we are trying to structure PPPs for the purpose of building dams and unlocking the potential and making sure that we move away from the rain-fed, relying on rain-fed as a country, to now relying more on more structured systems like irrigation. So I thought I should say that just to encourage those of us who, along the way, they normally move out of the profession, but even as they move away of the profession, still remain loyal and remain committed members to Icpak. You'll always find a space in whichever profession that Icpak will help you. Thank you. So now I move on to my presentation of the day. I'm also impressed by the theme of this year's edition, 42nd edition, that is moving from transaction to transformation. And I'll try and relate that to my quick presentation. So, first page, okay. I start by putting, the topic today is structuring a public-private partnership for economic transformation. So I chose to start by putting a case for PPPs. The first point there you've seen is pressure on budget. It's something that our CPA professor has just alluded to. She just mentioned that our debt sustainability at the moment is actually at 70%. But despite that, we still have many, many more needs. If you look at our current budget, it's around 4.2 trillion. In that 4.2 trillion, you realize that we have 1.7 goes to recurrent budget, 1.7 trillion. In that, we have around 1.1 trillion that goes to repayment of loans. Another approximately 300 billion, which goes to pension. So all that combined gives you approximately 3.1. Then we have another 400 that goes to county. So meaning almost 3.5. Government doesn't have much control, though you can control by, for example, the new policies like EGP. You can also try and control and minimize like the recurrent expenditure. But at the current status, at 3.5, we're only left with 700 billion. Yet our infrastructure needs at the moment, they stand to almost 4.5 trillion. Right now, to address that gap, now that's why the PPP becomes an alternative. So that we are now able to leave the budget to actually deal with the social goods, what we call as public good, things like education, things like health, security, but the major infrastructural projects, which currently you'll find them in our budget, we need to find a way of now removing them. And one way of removing them is making sure that when we have projects, for example, like SGR takes almost 30% of our external debt. And that should have been a good candidate for PPP, whereby we remove pressure from our budget, but we leave the budget to deal with the social good, which actually is what Monarchy more or less demands. So PPP that's one of justification. It helps us remove pressure on the budget. The second justification is the private capital. Anytime we've raised a bond, you realize there's always an oversubscription, meaning there's a lot of private capital out there. So how do we tap that private capital? That falls in how we structure our PPP. If we structure and embrace our PPPs well, then we'll have an opportunity of structuring, of attracting more private capital and reducing pressure again on our budget. Then the other thing that comes with the PPP is efficiency and innovation. This efficiency also speaks to the integrity, speaks to accountability. When you have two partners partnering together, there is a lot of accountability when it comes to, when there is that form of partnership. So the efficiency and innovation also is something that also we leverage a lot when it comes to PPP. The other one is the risk transfer. Like one of the PPP, successful PPP project, which is the expressway, you find the finance risk was transferred to the private party. When talk about the market risk also was transferred to the private party. The operation risk was transferred to the private party, which now in essence, if you continue doing infrastructural projects and transferring the risk to the private party, you end up safeguarding the public assets. So those are the like 4 highlights I had for case for justification for PPPs. Then in there, I just have a small slide here talking about the PPP process. And this is where, Chair, I tend, that's just the outline. I know most of you also must have read the PPP Act 2021. That's some of the processes that we have. But in these processes, you find the biggest challenge we have is our contracting authority. Our contracting authority don't have capacity, like don't have capacity to do most of these things. But you look at the PPP Act, it bestows most of these, like pre-evaluation, the first process there. That's the first step whereby when you receive a PPP, a PPP proposal, that's the first part you start, the pre-evaluation, there's a project development stage. At least those two, the first two, are things which can be done in-house by the constructing authority, but we lack capacity. But not that the capacity is not there, because you find when you talk about evaluation, you're talking about skills which we have in our profession, but probably is the way we have structured government. We have not structured it in a way to accommodate PPP in our structure. Like for example, if you talk about National Treasury, we have a whole department for finance, we have a whole department for accounts, we have a department for internal audit, but we don't have a specific unit which can deal with this issue of PPP, like project structuring, which is key. And I believe within our profession is an engagement we can have with government. Yes, I'm part of government, but we can join hands together and have this engagement to have the directorate expanded in a way they have a unit in every contracting authority. Because that's the only way we'll have more and more PPPs being developed. And as you can see from the justification, it's going to be one of the best ways of us unlocking the potential of our country. When we come to the commercial negotiation, that's an area now, and the concession agreement, that's an area now that requires our independent transaction advisors. But more often than not, we never get there because the first two, we don't have internal capacity to build on the first two. But if you had that, that means under that portion of the commercial negotiation, whereby you're now discussing the actual, the first stage, you just basically evaluate and see whether the proposal aligns with your needs. The second one is where you give the private party an opportunity to do detailed feasibility study and see whether what he thought can actually be actualized. When we go now to the third one, which is the commercial negotiation, here you're actually now talking about the deal. You're talking about the tariffs, what tariff is going to be, what are the rates, and that requires an independent eye. And that's where now you find, it creates an opportunity for external consultants. But you never get there more often than not, because the first two we still lack capacity in the first two. Concessional agreement, now that's when you've already done your negotiations. Then financial close, after that you're given an opportunity to do financial close. Then eventually there is that also opportunity of implementation and management of the concession period. In short, what I'm trying to say, all these 5 processes present opportunities for us as accountants to actually help in capacity building and unlocking the potential of the PPPs. The next slide there shows you the 3 tests, which shows you qualification of PPP, what it takes to say that this project is viable for PPP. The first one there is affordability. When we talk about affordability, just like an example, is when we talk about the Mau Summit Road, there's a proposal to charge 8 shillings per kilometer. So you may find if the government feels that's what the proponent has brought, and maybe they feel that may be too expensive, they normally come in and maybe negotiate or maybe fund the viability gap to make sure that whatever the private party is charging is actually affordable to mwananchi. The second one is about value for money. Here, value for money, you find more often than not, the PPP projects, they are financed mainly by private capital, which is more expensive than concessional loan. But you find more often than not, if you look at it generally, you find projects funded by government at times, they take time to be complete. So you also have to factor in the value for the time lost. Mainly this is because of lack of exchequer. At times, maybe there are some just internal delays there because of bureaucracy, which at times leads to even a project becoming much more expensive than it had been envisaged because of the interest that is charged by contractors, idle charges from non-utilization of equipment and the likes. So eventually, when you do the whole calculation, you find even if the private capital money is a bit expensive than maybe what you'd have considered as concessional loan, eventually, if you look at the time lost, you find that a PPP project might end up giving you more value for money. The last one is appropriate risk transfer. That's a balancing, how you go about balancing the risk. Just like I mentioned earlier, how PPP have that advantage of transferring some risks, market risk, finance risk, and operational risk. The next one slide shows you some of the government support measures. These was mainly, some of them were mainly introduced under the PPP Act 2021. These are some of the things that now encourage and make the PPP more viable, more investor-friendly when you introduce government support measures. Some of them are like, we have the viability gap funding. In the PPP, there is a provision to have a fund for unlocking this, but it is yet to be established. Again, this is an opportunity for Icpak to engage the government and say, let's actualize this. And also, by actualizing that, also it provides an opportunity also for our members, because whoever is managing the fund is supposed to be a CPA professional. So again, that's something that we can work together in Icpak to find a way on how we can unlock that. And by unlocking that, that creates an opportunity for us as a government to make our projects even more investor friendly. Then we have the letter of support, which is key to most of the PPP partners, because when you get the letter of support, it protects you against political risk, just in case, because the PPP at times lasts almost 30 years. So for investor coming in and administration has changed, this covers you against any political risk or regulatory risk that might be there. Then they also at times through the CS Treasury, depending on the request of the PPP, the CS Treasury has the power of structuring a financial instrument just to make the PPP project deal go through or investor friendly, depending on how needy it is. Then the last one there, I would say land and infrastructure access. Find at times government has a lot of idle land, which is probably not being used, and so because of government would look at it, when a private party would go and buy land, it might be more expensive. So this saves the private party the initial capital outlay. And that way, the private party is able to have ease of doing business when the land is leased to you, and probably at a more reasonable rate, because the government is also looking at another bigger picture, the economic impact. This is something that a private party leasing from another private party might not be the case, because it is just looking at the land lease fee. But for government, it might give you a reasonable rate because it's looking at maybe other economic impacts that may be brought by that PPP transaction. This page talks about the challenges which I've alluded to. These, to me, I see these as opportunities for us as members. Project preparation is the biggest challenge that we've had. You find we have very many projects prepared from our technical teams, but we don't have that financial model. And financial modeling, that feasibility study from a financial perspective, that is now what lacks. And that's why we find we have many good projects, but we are yet to take them to the market because of the challenge of project preparation. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the capacity of the constructing authority, which is something you can work together and see how can we build our constructing authority, because they're the ones who are mandated by the Act to actually be the first recipient of any PPP proposal. Identification of project at times is also a challenge because you find people may want to identify a project from a regional balance perspective, but from a private party, he looks at it from a commercial viability perspective. A viability gap, which I talked about earlier. Then, of course, there's a public perception of the PPP, which now, like you remember the JKA issue. So again, this can be addressed by better public disclosure, disclosing about the PPP immediately upon receipt of the any PPP proposal. Then there is, I think I also mentioned I forgot to mention about how to procure a PPP. There are mainly 3 key ways of procuring PPP. One, through competitive bidding, which is what is preferred by the public. This is whereby you float a PPP out there. But again, the biggest challenge where we've not found one is, again, comes back to the issue of project preparation. For you to float a PPP, you not only need the technical studies, but you also need a detailed financial model, so that now you can be able to have an expression of interest out there. So again, there it still speaks to the same thing about capacity building, and that's why you find more often than not, most of the PPPs which have been there have been the ones which are privately initiated, the PIPs. Privately initiated is what you've seen more. But again, the private initiated proposals are not bad. It's only because, one, they also give the private parties an opportunity to bring innovation. But at the same time, you need to internally have capacity so that you can counter it and make sure it aligns with exactly what you need. Yeah, so the other one, he's just an example of one of the PPPs that has worked successfully. That's Galana Kulalu Irrigation Project. That's under our State Department. Those who are highlighted there, those are the private party roles. The private party was able to raise 12.5 billion in terms of capital, technology. He brings technology and innovation. There was a lot of management efficiency. Coming to the government role, we've been able to lease land that was ordinarily idle, charge a water fee, and still have control at the end of it all. Then that's general the economic impact. That project is a Galana Kuladu project. It's a project that is in Tana River County, Kilifi County. It's a county that is deemed as, if you look at the map of the food security, you find that's one of the counties that is way high. When we talk about the issue of food security ratio, is one of the counties that is, but how do you change that? One way of changing that is through PPP, because now if you have to look at the amount required to be invested in such a project, we will not easily be able to get it in a budget. But through a PPP project, we've been able to unlock the potential of that land, at least 200,000 acres, and that way now we unlock their style productivity. So that goes to say, I know I'm running out of time, that goes to say that well-structured, the private party role and the public party, the two can come together. One, the government gives its own idle land, private party comes with their own private capital and the technology, and together we can unlock the potential of our assets and create an economic transformation. The figures you're seeing there, those are the projections. That project at the initial phase, which is just 20,000 acres, is projected to be generating 57 billion shillings from the gross domestic part. And in terms of job creation, because it's very highly mechanized, for every 5 acres, you're giving you 1 job. So you can imagine, by the time you're doing 200,000 acres, divided by the 5, you've created over 50,000 jobs. In terms of foreign exchange pressure, this project, we've been importing, our import bill currently stands at around 500 billion. Yet, most of what you're importing is something that we can produce locally here. But again, as I said, it requires a lot of investment. Those investments, they are strained, we don't have that in the budget. The solution to that is embracing PPP so that we can be able to unlock our potential. So as they come to an end, so that page was just showing you the pressure on the forex, which is caused by importations. That other page showing you the food security and vis-a-vis how actually 70% of our counties are all food insecure. But for us to convert this to an opportunity, we need water. And for us to get that water, we need to invest. And for us to invest, because right now, one of the options we have is investing through PPPs. So as I come to an end, I appeal to the members, to the chair, CEO, the council members, and members is let's come together, join our hands, and embrace PPP for our economic transformation. Thank you.
Yeah, makofi kwake tena. Yeah, so thank you so much, CS Fantas, for taking us through private-public partnerships. This is a concept that has come to Kenya. This is a concept that most of us don't know how it is implemented. So he has taken us through why we need it. He has also taken us through the process of PPPs and given us a case of a successful PPP. So it is now time for us as accountants to join hands and see how we can contribute to the economy. Remember, the theme of today's or this week event is from transactions to transformation. So it is our opportunity. So we will ask him questions later. Before I invite our chief guest to come and give his remarks, let me take this opportunity to recognize a guest who has just come, a friend, our member. This is CPA Aurelia Rono, who is the PS State Department of Parliamentary Affairs, Office of the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Tumpigie makofi. And whenever I see CPAs in this position, I'm happy. And that's why we always say that CPA is not about numbers. It gives you that ability to be a leader. We've seen what the transformation or the path that our CPA Kemodo has gone through. As an accountant, he has been in the forestry side. He's now in agriculture, which is related. These are natural resources, and he's doing a good job. So I'm happy that our profession is the profession that takes us places. So let me take this opportunity again with a lot of honor. After listening through economic transformation, the next thing that is needed is to do with ethics, to do with trust. And we know that when we talk about ethics, when we talk about trust, this is not something that can be seen, but it's something that we must have in ourselves, so that whatever we do goes to benefit whoever is supposed to benefit. When it comes to public resources, the resources actually go and trickle to every citizen. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us put our hands together as I welcome our chief guest, Dr. David Oginde, the chairman of EACC, to give us his remarks and to actually officially open. You can see we've started with a lot of power and energy. So, makofi kwake and karibu to the podium.
He is the chairman of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, a distinguished leadership and governance expert with decades of experience shaping value-driven institutions across Kenya and Africa. A certified mediator, author, trainer, and former presiding bishop of CETAM, he continues to champion integrity, ethical leadership, and national transformation through teaching, mentorship, and public service. Please welcome Dr. David Oginde.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chair, for giving me this opportunity, together with all the members of the council and whoever it was that sat down and decided that I should come here. It's a great honor and privilege to do so. I recognize all of you who are here. Yes, thank you for that educative presentation on PPPs. It's one of the ways that truly we can develop our country. I want to also appreciate our CEO. Thank you also for your great comments, and of course our chair. You have done an excellent job. In fact, as you are talking, I was just saying, now what else do I say? The chair has said it all. But let me repeat some of the things that she has said, even as we officially open this gathering or this seminar. I greet you all. Good morning. It's amazing to imagine that everybody sitting here is an accountant, and I'm told this is just a small fraction. There are others seated in other spaces across the hotels here and others online. Our topic today that I've been given to talk about is anti-corruption and integrity, strengthening governance and integrity frameworks and policies in the country. Very long topic, but basically, what is the role of integrity in national development, and what are the frameworks that are in place to encourage that? I want to open by asking you to turn to two neighbors so that you are three, and try and answer this question. We are talking from transformation, from transactions to transformation and impact. So with the two people that you have next to you, so that you are three of you, discuss among yourself, what impact would the nation experience if every accountant upheld integrity? What impact would the nation experience if every accountant upheld integrity? And why? Some people finished long time ago. Okay, quarter minute. Right, let me hear from a few people. Is there a mic around? I'm assuming that there might be a microphone somewhere. Yes, okay. So just lift up your hand. Yes, in yellow over here. What did you come up with?
Okay. Morning, everyone. My name is Lucy. The first thing we came up with, there'll be no corruption in the nation of Kenya. And then we thought there'll be more wealth and more opportunities. And we would even move from the third world to the first world. We'd move the way the president is saying to the first world. And then there'll be full utilization of the funds, and we'll enjoy the maximum benefits of allocations of funds the way it's supposed to be.
Wow, all that in those few minutes?
We are genius.
You are serious?
Genius.
Excellent. Let's give them a clap. Thank you. Okay, any other? Yes, right here. Thank you. And let me also be cognizant of those who are in other venues. If it is possible to get somebody from Pride in one, can we hear them with the technology that we have?
Thank you, Panasio. One of them is, you'll be declared redundant. Because
I would be declared redundant.
yeah,
My friend,
it's,
you are hereby dismissed. Thank you very much. Yes. And that would have an impact in the nation.
and this is because there will be zero corruption in that.
Yes.
For that, in any case, the other one is because we are aware that one of our, several of our accountants, they participate in financial reports, so there will be accurate financial reporting. The other one will be about project completion rates. It's going to be easier and faster.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's leave it there.
Thank you.
Is it? Thank you. Let's give them a clap. Even though they have just got rid of me, but it's okay. Those are the consequences. So, can we get somebody from Pride In? Yes?
Yes, Pride In 1, we have 2.
Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is CPA Benkai Chilumo from Huduma, Kenya. The effect will be a very high return on investment of a shilling spent particularly in government, and that will ensure that there is transformation that we are talking about today, given the scenario that what is invested today in government, a very high percentage is lost through corruption. So if everyone upholds integrity today, because accountants determine this transaction, then we shall ensure that every shilling that is spent in government counts.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Wow. Let's give them a clap also.
One last one, Daktari.
Pride In 2.
Daktari, just one more
Yes.
from Pride 1. Sorry about that.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, Les, thank you so much for that, for the opportunity. I'm called CPA, Jalwood Rossi from County Government of Nakuru Executive, and I'm very happy to be here. Thank you so much for that particular question. And we as the accountants, we normally do a lot of contribution in concealing what our leaders are normally doing. But with the integrity, I think we normally help them to balance the accounts. Yeah, so that is very wrong on us as accountants, but because of the integrity, what can be there is that the cost of living can be very low in our country, Kenya, because of that. And also the public debts. Public debts cannot even be realized, even those spending bills cannot be there. And that means that the resources will be used amicably. So my fellow accountants, let's observe integrity, and our country will be good. But let us not balance the books of accounts for our leaders. For some of them knows nothing about the accounts, but after they have done the corruption thing, we are helping them to balance the books of accounts, which is very wrong. Let's stop that, and our country, Kenya, will be a very better place. Asante sana.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. Let's give them a clap. Okay, let's have Pride In 2.
Yes, Pride In 2, we have one, CPA Moses.
Yeah, CPA Moses Karaoke from Pride In. Yeah, if as accountants we upheld integrity, that would lead to achievement of objectives. In the public sector, we are looking at achievement of the Vision 2030, because resources will be available to run these particular projects and make sure that they are achieved. And in the private sector, our organizations have strategic plans, and resources will be utilized towards achieving these objectives, and there will be greater value for both the public and private sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is it possible to get the online people? Oh, that's more technical. But let's leave it at that for now. Ladies and gentlemen, do I need to continue with my speech? We have declared me redundant, but I hope I'll still get my What do you give people who speak here? My gift. Send home package. Integrity is the foundation of the anti-corruption fight. When integrity is eroded, anti-corruption laws are useless. It doesn't matter how many laws we put in place. Because integrity is a matter of character. It's an individual thing. It's a decision that you make. It's a decision that I make. And the people who facilitate corruption in our country, you have said it yourself. You have said that if accountants were to practice integrity, EACC would be redundant. Not just Oginde. The whole commission would be useless because there will be no need. By that very statement, which has been said by all those who spoke, is that accountants play a significant role in the practice of integrity and accountability in our nation. And that the 1-something trillion that the Auditor General talked about and that our chairman has brought up, that goes into corruption that cannot be accounted for, is facilitated by men and women of the profession who lack integrity and do not practice integrity. I can tell you without any fear of contradiction that where I sit in EACC, every corruption case we have dealt with, there is an accountant involved. Whether small or big, there is none of them that does not involve an accountant. Whether you talk about ghost workers are created by the HR professionals and paid by the accountants. Isn't it true? Did I hear something, CEO? Unknowingly. How can you pay unknowingly? Then you are not an accountant. You cannot pay unknowingly. Then you are not an accountant. Every accountant, I believe, has an audit gene within them of curiosity, of finding out what are we paying for. So unknowingly would be very sad. If my accountant were to tell me that they paid unknowingly, I would separate with them. Because what else are they paying unknowingly? Why are they there? So integrity is at the heart of everything that we do as financial professionals. All the legal frameworks that we put in place are to facilitate that work so that we can operate within an environment that is easy for us to account for everything that we do. Anti-corruption mechanisms are tools that protect, reinforce, and give effect to the principles of integrity. And as I've said, no law, no matter how good, can bring about ethics and accountability if there is no integrity. Recently, we launched the EGP, the e-procurement, government e-procurement system. EACC is part and parcel of ensuring that that system works, and we believe that it will be a great system in curbing corruption, particularly in the procurement sector, which is about 80% of the cases that we deal with. And so the team came to us to make a presentation and to give us orientation as to how this is going to work right before it was launched. And as I sat there as chair of the EACC, my heart was greatly encouraged, because everything that was being described in that system is what I have always dreamt about, that we would put in place to curb some of the challenges that we are facing in the procurement sector within our government. It was very good. So at the end of the presentation, of course, there was question time, clarifications, anything that you need to know. So I asked a simple question to the presenters. I said, this thing is so good. If I was a corrupt guy, how would I enter into it? And he just smiled. He said, of course, every system has a human being. And it is where there's human interface where the system fails. That is the reality. It doesn't matter what technology we put in place. It doesn't matter what kind of legal frameworks we put in place. It doesn't matter all those things that we talk about. And in this country, we have more than enough. If the human interface is not operating with integrity, every system is useless. It's completely useless. Every legal provision and framework is completely useless, because it is also the legal professionals who find legal loopholes through which the corrupt guys can escape. So the human factor in our sustaining or bringing impact to the nation is absolutely critical. And that is where integrity comes in. As I said, integrity is a choice. Kenya's ongoing battle in anti-corruption commission, or rather in anti-corruption fight, is not a legal battle. It is a moral imperative. I make the choice, you know. We have just this week arrested a chair of a commission who is alleged to have been receiving, demanding monies from individuals. A chair just like I'm a chair. And by the way, where I sit, if I wanted to make money, my friend, I sit in a good place. No, I sit in a good place, because the kind of people we pursue are people who have stolen billions, and they are willing to give a portion of that. So if I was just to invite one of them and say, my friend, we have this case against you, this file is with us, let's talk, they would be willing to talk. I can tell you for a fact, there are individuals who have come out of their own choice. And they come with not small money. Is it because we do not want money? Is it because we have no need for money? It is because I have made a choice that this is not the way I operate. And it is the way you too, as an accountant, wherever you are, whether in public or private, as an individual, not as a group, would make a choice that this is not how I deal. This is not how I do business. It doesn't mean you don't need money. Every one of us could do with a little more money. Isn't that true? Every one of us, just a little more. Of course, a little more for the various individuals varies. For some of us, a little more is 5,000. For some of us, a little more is 100,000. For others, a little more is 1 billion. Just a little more. And so, the choice that every one of us makes is what will make a difference and move us from transactions to transformation and bring impact that you yourselves have described this morning. Is it possible for us to make that resolution at this conference? So that this is not a talk shop. Seminars are being held across the country. They are being held across the globe. But things continue in the same way. Today I was supposed to be somewhere else. And it was a very difficult choice between going to where I was supposed to go and coming to speak to accountants. But in the balance of equations, I felt that this is a very critical group of people that can make our lives very, very easy. In fact, to the extent that my friend there says, I may be without a job if each one of us played our roles. And I want us to make a resolution out of this conference. Madam CEO, Madam Chair, and members of the council. Let's make a resolution that we are going to live here and go back to our offices and uphold integrity at individual level. How many of you would want to be in that? You know, I'm a preacher. I believe in altar calls. How many of you would want to make that resolution? That at an individual level, not as a group, I want to go back to my office, and even if it costs me my life, because it is a costly, sometimes, experience. Even if it costs me my job, even if it means I'll go hungry, I want to ensure that our country moves to the first world. You yourselves have said that if every accountant upheld integrity, our country would move to the first world very quickly. It has happened in other countries. It can happen to us. How many of us would want to make that resolution today? I see those hands. I see those hands. You may put them down. I'm going to pray for you. I told you I'm a preacher. I have not left that profession. I'm now in the corruption industry. But I'm going to pray for you that God will help you to live up to the commitment that you have made. And let's see our country move to the next level. It is, I can tell you, I've sat in this place for just over 2 years now. And I have come to the conclusion that running after thieves and robbers is not what is going to solve our problem. But running, we will continue. Just in case you think now you can go and do something and we will not come after you. We will come. But it is not the solution, my friends. It is not. Many years ago, I was a student in a Bible school out in the US. In this school, university, the library and many other facilities were self-service. Self-service in the sense that you do everything for yourself. So you go to the library, you borrow a book. The rule was that you borrow the book for 2 weeks, and then you return it. If you stay more than a week, you pay $1 per day that you don't return it. So you go to the shelf, pick the book you want, go to the counter, get the stamp for the date, set it in the date that you're supposed to return, stamp it. There was a sheet where you have to stamp it and go away with your book. Nobody was managing that. When you return it, you bring it back. You don't return to the shelf. There's a place where you put it. The people who are working in the library, their only job was to take these books and put them back to the shelf, because that required some technical skills so that books are in their rightful places. If you have stayed with the book for 2 weeks, that means how many dollars? $14. Because every day is $1. There was a box where you drop the money yourself. $14. Nobody asks you. Then you leave your book there, you go. There's nobody who asks. So if you drop $1, you are the only one who knows. If you drop no dollars, again, you are the only one who knows. So one time we were in an ethics class, and we asked our professor, how are you able to manage this? Books don't get lost. Do people actually pay? And he told us that many years ago, they used to have a different system where everything was manned, everything was done, and everyone was checked. You had to bring your books, you had to pay the fine, and everybody checks that everything is the right way. And he said they used to lose a lot of books, hundreds of books. Remember, these are Bible students who are going to be pastors. So he said they used to lose a lot of books. People went away with the books, people who come bring books, but they don't pay for them, and so on and so forth. So one time they sat together and said, we are training pastors. We are training men and women who are going to help others in ethical living. But we are treating them as if they are corrupt. Why don't we train them on ethical practice? So let's remove all these things and let depend on the ethics of individuals. Some people said it will not work. All our books in the library will disappear. But there are those people who said, no, let's try it. And they did. And he told us the number of books that got lost within 1 year dropped more than 60%. Simply because when people are given responsibility and make a choice for ethical practice, it is self-driven. What laws and rules do is to create evil within us. Have you noticed that the more higher the penalty of any offense, the greater the corruption? So if overspeeding is 10,000 per 1 extra kilometers per hour above the speed limit, so the officer will come and tell you, my friend, you are doing 10 kilometers above the speed limit. That is 100,000. So you have the choice. I can take you in and you'll pay 100,000. Or we can talk. Isn't it? So now instead of asking you for 500 shillings, he said, you know, if you go there, you pay 100. Here you can give me 10,000 and it's okay. So you calculate in your mind as a good accountant, and you say, it doesn't make good business sense to go and pay 100,000 if I can pay 10,000. If that fine is increased to $1 million, the person here also increases to 100,000. Do you see how it goes? Laws do not create integrity. Integrity is a personal choice, but we need laws to give us guidelines. So my call to us this morning is, can we make a decision as people in a very critical sector in our society, accountants? Can we make a personal choice as you are seated here today, that I'm going to be a man or woman of integrity? For us in the Anti-Corruption Commission, we are a constitutionally mandated commission, and we don't deal with forgiveness. We don't dispense forgiveness and mercy. One of our mandates is to bring enforcement. And therefore, if we find you, I'll pray for you that as you go to court, God may come through for you. But we will take you to court all the same. So we have tried to put in place and to lobby Parliament to create frameworks for us to be able to have laws in place that can enhance the enforcement process of our fight against corruption. The Conflict of Interest Bill that was passed recently, and now is the Conflict of Interest Act 2025, is one of the significant milestones that we in ESCC have applauded. It is not to the level that we had originally hoped, but it is much better than what we had. The objective of this particular law is to promote objectivity and impartiality in official decision-making by public servants at whatever level in the government. And you as professionals in the accounting, you have a critical role to play in that, so that you ensure that the people who you are paying are not the same people who are working within your entity. It is also to ensure that integrity, there is integrity in decision making, and it is not compromised by private interest. It is to enhance integrity of the public office, to provide a framework for the regulation and management of real or apparent potential conflict of interest between the individual interest and the public interest. And all these are supposed to promote selfless service by public officers. And I believe that you as accountants have a significant role to play in ensuring that that happens. The administration of the Act has been given to ESCC to ensure vigilance and upholding of Chapter 6 of the Constitution. For finance professionals like yourself, this framework is particularly important because it helps you financial decisions, procurement approvals, contract evaluation, budgeting processes, and all these things are done free of conflict of interest. And some of you serve as internal auditors, and some of you serve as financial managers, some of you as accountants and financial officers, and whichever level you are at, I believe that you can help us to implement this new law so that we don't go running after very senior people. You have seen governors. Governors are not small people. They are serious people in society, isn't it? But I've seen situations where a governor jumped over the fence of their own home when the ESCC officials went for them to account for matters that they had done. It is embarrassing to our nation. and yet we are forced to do it. You can help us not to have those kinds of scenarios. So the legislative framework is broad for anti-corruption, but it requires integrity for us to succeed. We are very happy with some of the enforcement court rulings that have enhanced the fight against corruption. We have seen courts coming and pronouncing themselves very well on areas that were previously gray, and we want to commend our courts for taking the courage to make things clear, to clarify the law, so that there is greater accountability and sealing loopholes, especially technical loopholes that sometimes people have gone through in the legal process in order to avoid accountability for the things that they have done. We also want to mention that our research that we conduct every year in various sectors has shown us that the highest risk areas, as I've said, is the work of financial professionals. We were looking at one of the entities in our government, led by a very respected human person that I happen to know and I have held personally in good esteem. But the case came to us. They had ghost workers, it was alleged. And these ghost workers, through these ghost workers, they had paid hundreds of millions of shillings. When we did our investigation, we found that the CEO, the finance, and the HR had formed an unholy trinity to loot that particular government entity. Hundreds of millions. The HR guy did the recruitment of the ghost workers. Interesting, they would just go to the streets. One of them was a cobbler on the streets. Would you like to be paid 10,000 per month? Who would not want to be paid 10,000 per month? Doing nothing. You continue with your cobbling. It's called cobbling. But every month we'll pay you 10,000 shillings. So this person, all they have to do is produce their ID. They are registered in the HR system as a person holding a master's degree and paid over 200,000 per month. Out of the 200,000 per month, they get how much? 10K. The rest is shared among the unholy trinity, which involves the CEO, the finance, and the HR. That is a watertight trinity. If any of those people refused to play ball, that would not have happened. It would not have happened. So ladies and gentlemen, let me bring this to a close. One young finance officer once remarked and said, I entered this profession to make numbers balance, but now I realize my deeper calling is to make society balance. It is not balancing the numbers. It is making our society to balance. This is the spirit that we wish to see among the professionals who understand that ethical responsibility extends beyond balancing books to the well-being of the nation. The emerging trends that we see now are syndicate networks involving multiple actors across different sectors. We are seeing cross-border transactions that conceal illegal flows, cyber-enabled fraud that mimic genuine documentation, consultancy-based laundering schemes that sanitize illicit money. They are consultants whose only job is to help ordinary folks like myself. And they come to me and say, you know, Chair, we can help you in a gold mine. And they will help craft for me a system through which I can make a lot of money. And before you know it, I have apartment blocks. I have all these hotels. It's now one of the big business for money laundering, and so on and so forth. Artificial inflation of project costs through collusion and conflict of interest that undermines procurement fairness. What can Icpak do? Help us to strengthen internal control systems. 2, uphold professional independence. 3, help in ethical decision making. And 4, help us in whistle blowing. We have had accountants who have said, I am being asked to make payments that I'm not sure. Please come and help us, and we have come. Conduct integrity audits and governance diagnostics that can help the organization. And lastly, educate the public on financial integrity. Ladies and gentlemen, financial professionals are custodians of economic growth. You safeguard resources that will fuel the development of our schools, our hospitals, infrastructure, national aspirations. When integrity thrives in the financial sector, the nation is secure. We have said it ourselves this morning. And so as members of the profession, you sit at the heart of our financial systems that will determine the growth of our economy. We would like you to be our first line of defense against corruption, our first ambassadors to ethical leadership. A single ethical decision from an accountant can save our country. A courageous stand from an auditor. And I want to applaud our Auditor General, both present and former, who have consistently come out and pointed out where there are gaps. A principal finance officer can save the nation. Your profession is built on the assumption that numbers don't lie, isn't it? But we have found that people make numbers lie. Integrity is what will bridge that gap. Therefore, let your signatures be a signature of honor. Let your reports speak the truth. Let your profession inspire courage. And in this way, we'll build a nation very quickly where our children and our children's children can have a place to operate, to live, and pursue their ambitions without being taken advantage of. God bless you, and thank you very much. I now, by the powers conferred upon me by the Council, declare this meeting officially opened. Thank you very much.
Wow, wow, wow. What a way to start the conference. What a way to open it. So thank you so much, Dr. Oginde, for that talk on integrity and what you've done from a legislative point, and we hope that the laws that are going to be enacted will guide us to be people of ethics, to avoid corruption, and as you've truly put it, it is not those laws that will create the change, but the change has to come from the people. So we'll take a few rounds of questions, but something that I picked that I find very important is that from an integrity point, this is actually out of a daily commitment that we can make to do what is right, and this is what will guarantee that the big picture that we are seeing when the question that is asked of how will the world be if every accountant will be doing the right thing, we can actually realize that. So members, as we now start taking the question, I want to pose a question to you, and this is the question of when Dr. Oginde, Bishop, I'll use all those terms. When he was speaking, he gave the example of where he did his studies, and because of issues of ethics and practice of ethics, he said that 60% of the losses of the books was actually able to be restored. Now the question now is to us. We have made a commitment that we are going to be accountants who are going to live by the true calling of the profession. So I'm hoping that when we meet in the next annual seminar or in the next financial year, we are going to see some significant change in how the economy of the country is. Otherwise, if that does not happen, it will mean that this was just talk. It has been said, we have smiled, we have said, but we have not done anything. So for us, the numbers will tell the true story. And with that, it is now time for Q&A. Mwakazi, I wish you were here. You let me know how much time we have. Please, you can take it up.
Yes, we can have 2 questions from Pride in 1, Pride in 2, and Sarova, and also from the virtual platform.
Okay, so we've been guided 2 questions from each of the venues that we have. So you'll take us through the online audience if they are ready. So, but now we'll start with Sarova now that we are here. So the other Pride in 1, Pride in 2, get ready with 2 questions, 2 short questions, mention your name, and then you go straight to the question. So Sarova, where are the mics? Yes, I can see one hand here from FCPA Farin and another hand. We'll just pick one. So for gender balance, we'll pick from the gentleman. So mics, please. Yes, we'll start there. And then the other one here. Please stand and then you give us your name and the question.
Thank you. My name is C.P. Ogara. My question goes to the the PS irrigation. He mentioned something about the PPPs, and good data was shared with us. Now my question is, what does the government expect us as accountants in order to transform those PPPs into sustainable projects that can help us in future? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, CPO Ogara. FCPA, okay, there's already one with the Professor CPA member.
Okay, thank you so much for this insight, and I appreciate we can be ambassadors, indeed. My question goes to the fact that I didn't say my name, I'm Professor, CPA Florence member, the DVC Administration, Planning and Finance, Machakos University. So I want to say this, that man fears, and fears the source of livelihood, like everyone here said. And we are saying we can stop this corruption from the point of being whistleblowers. I'm just saying, is it possible for the professional body that is the Icpak to come up with a law of protection? That when a whistleblower has made that law, he's or she is protected and may be moved to a far point, so that we can be indeed practical without fear or contradiction of the same. And also, the source of corruption. Normally it's the bosses who are more corrupt, who may not be accountants. Can this gospel reach them? Reverend, did the gospel reach them? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that was an addition to the altar call, or the podium call, or the commitment call. So we can go to Pride in One. Vice.
Thank you very much. Pride in One, we have one question there. Please make it brief. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Dr. Leonard Larry. My question goes to Bishop Dr. Oginde. He rightly mentioned that using the library case, you rightly mentioned that the ethical training, if I got you right, reduces corruption by 60%. In our Kenyan environment, I do have possibility of reducing it by 100%. Daktari, from where you sit,
Vice, we have lost the sound.
Thank you very much. One lady, please. Oh, the chairman, you need to guide me. I have men with the mic.
No, we just need one more.
Right, please proceed very fast. Make it brief.
My name is Pierre Ben Kai Chilumo from Huduma, Kenya. We are in charge of taking care of the 50s in the country to ensure that we offer services to Kenyans. Chair, my concern is one. You said it rightly that integrity training is actually the most effective way of fighting corruption, but at least through training and preaching integrity. But we realize that from the Commission, we've seen a lot of investment in the anti-corruption in terms of fighting instead of training people on issues of integrity. Letting us understand, how is the investment at the Commission in terms of prevention and in terms of investigations and combating corruption? Would it be wise to invest more in these issues of preventing than putting a lot of money in investigations? Maybe.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's just give one moment for a lady. We need both voices on this matter. Very, very important indeed. One lady, courageous one.
From Thika Institute, Thika Technical Training Institute, yeah, an internal auditor. My question is to the chairman. What is this that you investigate once you get, or let's say one who has done, let's say, embezzled funds like 5 billion, what really do you investigate? Because like on my side, if I get 20,000 as salary, as my salary, then I've been found embezzled like 5 billion. Why take all this time to investigate such cases? And we have the issues with accountability and so on.
Okay, thank you, Mwakazi, the two virtual participants.
Yes, we'll start with the Zoom. This is from William Puda. He says, even as we appreciate the new laws that are being enacted, the sad fact is that every time a law is enacted, it becomes an avenue of extortion by those responsible for its enforcement. Final question from the virtual platform. This is from CPA Regina Kilonzo. She says, seems the biggest enemy to PPPs is public perception. how can we gain public trust on transformative and yet sensitive project? Over to you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Even though the first question was not so clear, Mwakazi, maybe you can repeat that.
The first question, basically talking about the new laws when they're being enacted. The sad fact is that every time a law is enacted, it becomes an avenue of extortion.
I hope you got it here. So now we can go to our speakers, our chief guests, to give us the responses. They'll do the responses when they are sitting. So we'll start with the CPA, PSF Hunters. He can handle all the questions that were directed to him, and then it will be followed by the chairman of the EACC.
Thank you. Let me first start by recognizing my colleague PS, who just came in when we were getting PS Aurelia. Then I go straight to the question. I think the question was, how can the government facilitate accountants to ensure that PPP are sustainable? First, I'll say to ensure PPP are sustainable, two key things which come on board is all about financial structuring. So how do we structure, how as accountants do we structure PPPs in such a way that the PPPs, that is a private-public partnership deal, comes out in such a way that it's affordable to the common mwananchi, and at the same time address the needs that PPP normally come to address, so that we can unlock our developments, such like the infrastructure needs. So that their thing is how do we structure them in such a way to ensure that there is value for money. So so to address that now is all about capacity building. We need to capacity build our accountants so that they are able to structure deals which are affordable and at the same time give value for money. That way, we will be able to have a sustainable PPP deals. The second question was about whether PPPs have been cascaded to the counties. Yes, I would say that yes. In the new Act, PPP 2021, it was one of the key amendments was to allow counties also to come on board. And currently, among the 47 counties, we have 3 counties who have submitted some PPP proposals to the directorate. Again, we also have a challenge in the counties, in that counties are now contracting authorities. But again, they still lack that capacity, which I talked about earlier in the contracting authority, in that for a PPP process to move on, yes, a private party will make a proposal, but also the person receiving the proposal need to evaluate it for it to go to the next level. So you find some of them receive, but because of the lack of that capacity, they are not able to go to the next level, which is now submitting the proposal to the DG directorate, who later now puts it to the PPP committee. And that's why, again, that I say that creates an opportunity for us now that PPP is not going to be the alternative, but might end up being one of the main ways of raising funds. Then it calls for us to continue capacity building even our counties. And the last question was about the letter of support. The letter of support, Treasury and national government is always willing to give a letter of support, but that comes as a negotiated agenda, but that comes towards the end. It doesn't come at the process. So as I explained the process, there's a pre-evaluation, there's a project development, there's a constitutional agreement towards the end when you're doing financial close. Because by the time you're doing financial close, the government has looked at, both the county government and the private sector, they have looked at it, and so this is a project that addresses the needs of the public, and at the same time, it gives an investor an opportunity. So once that has been agreed upon, then the investor is upon the investor who requests and says, for me to be able to complete this deal, then I may need to be protected against future political or regulatory elements. And at that point, Treasury would consider that. So that comes towards the end. So it's still available even for the county and any other contracting authority. Thank you. I submit.
Thank you very much. I have several questions. If I understood them well, the first one from, I think, Florence mentioned, how are whistleblowers protected? Because sometimes this endangers the life of the individual, whether physically or professionally and otherwise. It is very true. Now, as at the moment, we don't have a whistleblower protection law, and we are actually in discussions with Parliament to fast-track. A bill is already before Parliament, and we are urging Parliament to fast-track the enactment of that law so that it could protect the people who give us information on any unethical conduct that they may be observing within the places where they serve. So that law will definitely be of great help to us. But even in the absence of that, we can say that if, for example, you observe something within where you're working and you want to bring it up to ESCC to take it over, we are not obliged to disclose the source of our information. We can do our investigations, determine whether what is being said is true, and use the evidence that we gather to prosecute that case without having to disclose where it came from. So even within the current framework, it is still possible to give protection to individuals who give us information and maintain them as anonymous individuals without having to disclose where we got that information. So you should not be afraid to come forward and give us information. I can tell you for a fact, there are several people in the accounting profession who have served us with information, details of what they are observing, pressures that are upon them, and we have used that information anonymously to deal with the situations that we are facing. So ultimately, the law will be useful, but even currently, you should not be afraid to come forward if you are observing something that is beyond your capacity to handle, and we'll come in and see what we can do about it. How can this message reach to the leaders? I think somebody asked that we are preaching, I was preaching to people who are at a lower level, that we should get the other people at a higher level to speak to them. You know, we have PSS in this house, don't we? Those are very high level. They are the accounting officers. So we talk to them. So whichever forum we get, we pass on this message. So what I would say is, as we seek to reach those other people at those higher levels, let's do what we can at our level. Let's not wait for the other person. Do what you can within your level. And each one of us doing our part, I believe we can win this war. But whenever opportunity arises, I can tell you for a fact, for me as chair, I try my best to speak this message to whoever it is, without fear or favor. Thank you. Pridine 1, what is the balance between investing in prevention versus enforcement? Very good question. We do actually invest a significant amount of resources and time in the area of prevention. But unfortunately, prevention doesn't get to the news as much as enforcement when we arrest people do. So we have programs for educating the public. We have programs for all the way from in the education sector, all the way from primary school all to university level. In fact, as I'm sitting here today, our team is in Kirinyaga University, where they are talking with students from various universities who are gathered in that university in order for us to just help them on how they can stand for integrity in whichever place they find themselves. So we have a lot of education programs that are aimed at prevention. We have disruption programs where if we get information that something is going on here that could lead to the loss of resources, we come in and see how we can disrupt that process. In Pride in 2, there was a question which I put in my own words: why investigate the obvious? If somebody is earning 20,000 and they have monies that are flowing into millions, why don't we just take that person because it is so obvious? Unfortunately, the law is not so obvious. You have to follow that process. And you have seen us take people to court with what we think is so obvious, and those people are let free. Why? Because the courts follow the legal process. And if some good lawyers will argue this thing out, and that case is lost. So we have to ensure that before we take a case forward, we actually have watertight, as it were, evidence that can stand the test of the law within the court. Last one, from the online, it was not very clear, but why enact a new law if every time it becomes an incentive for greater corruption? I think it was, I had something like that, what you read for us. So the fact that I said that the law cannot help us does not mean that we do away with the law. It means that the law will be there to guide us, but ultimately what will help us is personal integrity. So we'll still try and put in place as many legal systems and frameworks that can help us as a nation to ensure that integrity is maintained at every level, because the law is still important. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so we've had it, we've got the call, and I'm sure we are telling ourselves we have a big role to play. So we've come to the end of the first session, and as our tradition, we'll have our photos taken with the guests. We'll also give them gifts, and these gifts, looking at their monetary value, they have qualified. They don't have to be returned to their offices, they'll be personal, and they just mean to, for us it is a token of appreciation. We know we cannot really give things that can quantify what they have done, but it's just to remind them that as an institute, we are really grateful for their time. So I'll call upon my council colleagues also to come to the front, the past chairman, so that we can have a group photo. And I don't have the list of those who will give the gifts, but I will choose. I will call Mheshimiwa Mwadegu to come and present the gift to the CS, to the PS, CPA Fantas, and I'll call the chair of disciplinary committee to give it to our bishop or the Dr. Oginde, because our disciplinary committee should actually be the face of integrity and the face of discipline as a profession. So please step forward, we give the gifts. Our guest, please, you can stand. The photographer, be there, and then after this, Mwakazi will give announcements on how we'll conduct ourselves after this session.
Thank you so much. We appreciate our guest speakers. Asanteni sana. Makofi tafadhali, thank you so much. Yes, asante sana. Thank you so much for your insights. Many thanks. We really appreciate. And of course, our chief guest. Thank you so much. Makofi out tafadhali. Asante sana. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 15 minutes for our break. But before that, please check the screen, check the screen, check the screen, check the screen. We want to make sure that you have the program. Please scan that QR code so that you can get the whole program, event program. Scan it, get the program so that we can flow together. Ladies and gentlemen, after break, we have such a loaded panel, so you don't want to miss that. But in the meantime, a quick photo there. And I'd kindly request that we allow our chief guest and his delegation to leave first before we exit.